what's an aggregator and what can the major CPGs learn from this model?
Sure. Yeah, that's a really popular question these days because aggregators, the notion of aggregation that's not a new one, but for Amazon aggregators, yeah, relatively new, like 2 years old. Thrasio started it, probably before the term was coined, maybe 8 years ago. BBG was actually doing it about 15 years ago, really growing their own businesses. And then the next phase was more of an M&A phase. So we look for great sellers, mostly on Amazon. They can sell on other channels as well. And we run about 100 marketplaces around the world. We kind of stick to Amazon because if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere, right? So we look at, there's a certain criteria, usually it's 1 person to 5 people, just a small company, really scrappy, mostly, freelancers, that kind of thing. And they've really, gone a bit beyond just going to Alibaba, picking out a product and, buying 1,000, corkscrews and selling it on Amazon. They've really evolved their business to a certain point where each one of their SKUs is doing maybe $500,000 to $5 million in some cases, right? So we have a criteria. We stick to a certain size company and sells on Amazon a certain EBIT, right? They've got to be somewhat profitable and we've got to see the upside, right? Because typically what we do is an asset-only acquisition, right? So we're not interested in all their freelancers or any of that. It's really like the product, really product focused. We just want to take over their inventory, essentially, take over their Amazon accounts or Walmart accounts or Wayfair or whatever, and just not skip a beat. Like that's the trick in all of this, right? So now you get down to, well, what type of aggregator are you? So we're all in this big bucket, right? It's Thrasio and us and Perch and 100 others now.
Right.
The 3, I think what's going to happen is some kind of industry consolidation naturally at some point. With a few of us have raised well over $1 billion. The rounds become easier to get, the next billion and the next billion, because the whole thing's a machine. The details though, what's the difference between a lot of these aggregators? And there are pretty significant differences. It's about, do I target certain companies? Do I want the founders still involved with the companies? Do I want to keep the warehouses, let's say? Thrasio does that. They've got like 100 different warehouses. I don't like that model. I like to keep just a few warehouses, as few as possible. So, there's all kinds of criteria. Some want to really get involved with the founders and run the business together with them, which is an interesting model. What we like to do is we like to have a transition period, right? We like to say, hey, we're going to give you one check that is kind of your down payment, like go work out of your, go buy a beach house and work out of there, relax. But we want you to be involved for maybe 6 months, right? Help us run the business. What we're trying to do is really not just clone their business, we're trying to clone their passion too. Right. And that's the harder part, right? How do you clone, somebody that has worked day and night for years and they know their products, they know the industry, the product category inside and out. Right. And that's the toughest part for us is we create this brand management structure where each brand manager has to not only manage like the aspects of the brand, they're literally a clone of the seller, right? They are managing the 360-degree every aspect of the business for that particular brand. And it's worked for us so far.
Fascinating.